Hello, Internet. The Morgan You Know podcast network presents Balls and Brew.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the flagship sports podcast here on the Morgan You Know podcasting network. I am your host. My name is Rod Morgan. Joining me are my fellas that I love talking sports with, and we are reunited after someone taking last week off. He is back with us. But first, we are joined by the MVP of this podcast. Quite frankly, the MVP of every podcast that exists here on the Morgan You Know podcasting network, because we'd be nothing without him. Absolutely nothing. It's James Thomas Jamariska. Jimmy, hello.
It is NFL Week 9. The NBA started. Wrestling is going great. It's a good time to be me, honestly.
You know what, Jimmy? I love hearing you positive coming in, talking yourself up for a change on the pod. I love that. Let's see where that goes by the end of the episode. I'd imagine that energy will not stay the same, but we will find out as we go along. Let's go to the man returning from his 3-day hunting trip with Ray Rhodes in the Appalachian Mountains. It is Chris King. Chris, hello.
Hello, gentlemen. Thank you for having me back after a little bit of a break where I may have gotten a little bit too big for my own ego. I appreciate it. And to reiterate from my prepared statement last week, I do not know anything, and nobody should ever listen to me.
Someone that we hope knows a little bit of something, but last week he had the unfortunate record of 1-1-1. It's not very often we get a win-loss and a push from our guy. It's the handicapper, Josh Williams. Josh, hello.
What's up, boys? I mean, that push felt like an absolute kick to the gut last week as the Browns dominated the last 2.5 quarters, only to see PJ Walker just shit the bed there with his third turnover of the game, and Seattle goes right down the field and scores that touchdown, gets the push, and that was a disgusting one. But we did get the KC Denver first half correct, so happy about that one.
Yes, I'm always excited when you can predict portions of a football game and not the entire football game, Williams. We all know how much I absolutely love that. There was some terrible quarterback play in the NFL last week. Perhaps we'll get to that when we start chopping up football the way that we do here on the big show. But real world events have forced us to start in a different direction. This show is called Balls and Brew, so we talk about sports that involve balls. College basketball will come up time to time on this particular podcast, mostly, frankly, like all of you around March Madness time. We will then dive into it. But you have 4 lifelong Indiana basketball fans on this podcast. So all of us were saddened to hear the news of the passing of the General Robert Montgomery Knight at 83 years old just yesterday before we were taping this. I must admit, I was struck pretty sad. I really kind of was thrown aback by how sad I was when I first heard that. And I will say this, I'm not going to defend every decision Bobby Knight ever made in his life, because who amongst us can defend every decision they've ever made in their life? But I will go to my grave believing that Bobby Knight was about the right things. And I will go to my grave having many, many fond and wonderful memories of that man and his basketball teams when I was a child. My father has since passed away. Some of my greatest memories of a kid and growing up with him were him telling me about Bobby Knight and showing me Indiana basketball games, and Steve Alford and Calbert Chaney and Allen Henderson and Damon Bailey and all the people over the years. I loved me some Indiana basketball. I loved me Bobby Knight, and I was really, really sad to see that happened. And we have an Indiana University employee with us, one Jimmy Jamriska. Jimmy, what's it been like on campus, and what were your thoughts when you heard that?
Well, all the scoreboards had the a big picture on it. Even driving down in Martinsville on 69, there is a big tribute to him as well. Kind of somber, obviously, there's it's weird. IU and Coach Knight had a really weird relationship throughout the entire time since he was gone. It was really nice that he was able to come back. As you were growing up, it was all IU everything. My mom went to IU. Her sister went to IU. There's a big IU family. My great uncle was a basketball player at IU. He and Coach Knight were fishing buddies and golfing buddies as well. He got a nice little excerpt in Coach Knight's book as well, just about a little paragraph about when Coach Knight was coming from Ohio State to Indiana. He was one of the people he talked with, and So really it was ingrained. Coach Knight was ingrained in me, and like you, there's a lot of things that you look back on now and say that probably wasn't the best. I do like that he always wanted to say that he tried to tell the truth. Uh, he thought he did what he always thought was right, and he didn't kiss anybody's ass. We know that for a fact. So, yeah, it hit pretty big in the old Jim Riska household.
Chris, now I know that you may echo some of my sentiments here as well, because I know your dear late father Wendell was a huge IU supporter, and many great memories you had of being there in Assembly Hall, as well as you and Wendell being nice enough to take me into Assembly Hall. It was after the Bob Knight days when you guys took me, but I'm sure you were struck by this as well.
Yeah, it was it was a sad day, but I really do think with the dementia he was having to deal with, and we know how Bob Knight was. And when you're dealing with dementia, you're going to have more bad days than good. But those good days, he had to have realized what was happening with him. And I mean, I hate to kind of say it like this, but I'm happy that he's at rest now. He's at peace. He's not dealing with that issue anymore. It definitely made me reminisce a lot about many games that we went down to throughout the years. My family was season ticket holders for about 40 years going to IU games, and that was my dad driving us 3.5 hours one way to get to those games and then back. And the memories that I have and the ideals and lessons that Coach Knight tried to give to his players and instilled into a lot of the IU fans was to do things the right way, no matter what. You know, whether it be making sure his players graduated, making sure his players did the right things the right way, making sure that if you are true to yourself, not to let other people dictate what you do. And believing in yourself as well. One of my greatest memories was, and one of IU basketball's greatest episodes was when he took the Indiana team, the whole team, off the court during a Russian exhibition game in Assembly Hall because Knight wasn't putting up with the, well, for lack of a better term, and in the parlance of Bob Knight, the bullshit the refs were trying to pull, giving him his third technical when they were skirting the rules for international basketball with the Russian team. He took his entire team off the court and refused to finish the game. I was at that game, and I was told by my dad then the reasons why, and that was one thing that I have, tried to keep in my life. That type of, if I believe in something and I believe something's right, I'm going to stick to that belief no matter what anybody else says. And if that's walking out of a situation that you believe you've been wrong, that's walking out of that situation. One of the great lessons. Love the general, love everything he did for IU basketball.
Mr. Williams, you are our football handicapper, and every week everybody gets to hear your passion about the NFL. But I think we also know that you are a bit more passionate about college basketball and the Hoosiers in particular. So, Bob Knight, you'll remember him how.
Yeah, man, the Hoosiers are my number one favorite team. Went to his basketball camp back in '91. 10 months later, he would go to his Final Four. We did not know that back then, but looking back on it now, it's like, wow. He was larger than life for 3 decades. And one of my favorite tidbits of his was back in '84 for the Olympics. He told reporters, and he went into super detail why Michael Jordan was the best basketball player he had ever seen before he had played a single minute in the NBA. The Generals' basketball IQ was second to none, and I can say it because I can't prove it. If Scott May doesn't break his arm in 1975, they win that title. And if Alan Henderson doesn't tear up his knee in 1993, they win that title because they beat the Fab Five not once that year, but twice. Michigan went on to play for the national championship versus Carolina that year. And if Chris Webber doesn't do the timeout thing, Michigan probably wins it. So, yeah, those are a little salt in the wounds, but he did get 3 titles, and man, what a basketball mind, the general. Rest in peace.
I love that you brought up the Michael Jordan quote there, because that's another way that the general will live on, right? YouTube. I mean, we can pull up the Bob Knight pulling out the bullwhip in the press conference, right? We can pull up the clip of Bob Knight throwing the chair across the court, right? We can do all of those great ways that he was mean to reporters, but it was actually kind of funny. We can do all of those things, right? But there's a Bob Knight quote for me, and I'm just going to kind of paraphrase it here, right? But he's like, anybody can talk about winning, but what we should talk about is preparing to win, because everybody wants the spoils of winning, but very few people actually want to prepare to win. And that's ultimately what Bob Knight was about. That was his program of, you got to go to school because you have to prepare for life. We have to practice hard because you have to prepare for these tough Big Ten games. Winning the Big Ten will get us to the tournament. Winning the tournament is what we're all here for. So Bob Knight's quote about preparation that leads to then being larger than life for 3 decades. I love what Mr. Williams said there. That's how he was. I don't know if it was like that across the nation because I grew up in Indiana, but in Indiana, that man was larger than life. There was nobody bigger in the state of Indiana than Bob Knight. You said Indiana and you just immediately thought Bob Knight. That's how it was. So he will be missed. Jimmy, I also love what you said there too. A strained relationship over the years. And that's frankly got to be on Bob Knight. Okay. He'd go on the Dan Patrick show and talk about how he wished that the administration in Indiana would be dead. That's not cool. He still held a grudge even years after they were gone. Bob, you didn't need to fight against Indiana. You needed to come back for the fans. The 4 people that you hear on this podcast right now saying the things that we are as men in our 40s and how we're waxing nostalgic and feeling like we're kids again. That is why you needed to come back to Indiana. And that's why, Jimmy, I love that you said it was so good that he got to come back in 2020. So that's about all I have on the general. Any of you gentlemen have anything else to say about Bobby, or can we move on to regular business?
The
All right.
the last thing I want to say is I do hope that they honored his wishes and buried him face down so all of his critics can kiss his ass.
You were absolutely right. And the way that these cycles tend to go, if they did bury him that way, they're going to have their chance here in a couple of days, because I imagine we're going to start getting the swerve pieces on Bob Knight here pretty soon. So let's hope that that did happen. Now, we are here to talk about the NFL. One of the biggest things that happened last week was the NFL trade deadline. And that makes an appearance in the way we like to start so many of our shows. We throw it to our big time wrestling fan, just not the only wrestling fan on this podcast, though. I don't want to paint him that way, but he's the guy that brought Chris and I back to the sport. So he does his face and his heel of the week.
Yeah, face of the week is the trade deadline. Trades actually happen in the NFL. This is not NBA trade deadline. Although the NBA did have some news on the day as well, but we had some big trades. And Williams, one involved the Bears. How about that? The Chicago Bears, for the second year in a row, have given up a very high second round draft pick for a player, but this time he's a good player. He plays on the defensive line, and he's not signed past the rest of this year. Montez Sweat from the Commanders comes over. I am torn on this. I'm torn because the Bears really do need pass rush, obviously. I think Sweat has almost as many sacks as the Bears do as a team. It's like 2 different. But also, what does this do for you moving forward? Because it's a high second round pick. I'm going to be the nicer one of the two. I think, Williams, what did you think about the Montez Sweat Bears trade?
Yeah, I mean, he's a good player, but Washington didn't eat any of the money. So you trade a top 40 pick next year, and that's generous. It could be a top 35 pick for a 27-year-old defensive end who is already a free agent. So you pay over $6 million to get him. Now you give up a second. You have to re-sign him now because the organization's hands they're tied. I mean, you have to re-sign him now. So, I mean, what happens if he just goes out there and just lays an egg these last 8 games? I mean, they're just. I don't understand the thinking behind this Bears team, this Bears organization, and this is the second time Poles has done it. Now Sweat is a much better player than Claypool, but it just doesn't make any sense to me. He was going to hit the free agent market to begin with, so those top 40 pick is massive. And I know somebody on here is going to be like, well, what good is it if we if we keep on missing on these picks? Well, then get somebody else in there to make the picks. Why is Ryan Poles' job safe for next year? I don't think his job is safe for next year. So just a complete shit show again from the Bears organization.
Chris.
Is this a negotiating issue? Is Ryan Poole just a bad negotiator? Because we just saw the
Yes.
49ers get Chase Young for a lesser draft pick, got the Commanders to eat that money, and he is also a free agent next year because he's still on his rookie deal. Is this just him being a bad negotiator? Why couldn't have they gotten a better deal? We know Washington was definitely selling for just about anything the way they pretty much gave Chase Young away. Is that what it is?
Well, I know they wanted to give Chase Young away. They were looking to offload him because they just didn't see him. Montez Sweat, I actually think was someone they were going to plan on re-signing, but were open to offers, and the Bears obviously offered him something they couldn't refuse, which then goes into the, well, why did they trade him? Oh, because they thought it was a fantastic deal for them. There were a lot of trades that helped teams individually here and there. Some cornerbacks changed hands, but I want to talk about the quarterback position. Josh Dobbs traded again. Let's go Dobbs. I know NFC, listen, they're in the Norris division. I understand that, okay? But I am all for Josh Dobbs just coming back and having a great season again. Gets traded like a day and a half before the season starts. Had a pretty good run with the Redskins. Yes, 1-7. I get it, but he was a serviceable quarterback. I'd love to have Josh Dobbs on the team. So I'm very excited about that as well, Rod.
Yeah, it's like, Dobbsy, what does the guy got to do other than show that he's better than a whole lot of other dudes who continue to have starting jobs in this league, right? So he gets moved on up to Minnesota. I think there's a little more burbling in Arizona that we'll get to when I talk to everybody about when I talk to you. Listen, we sound like LA Knight. When I give
I
that
talk
thing
to you.
when I give my thing that not everybody's talking about. Let's touch upon your face of the week, or your heel of the week, excuse me, Mr. Jay Marisco. Let's do that, because you're right. We had a cornerback go to the Bills. Hurrah, good for them. We had a few other moves. NFL trade deadline is more trades this year and last year than they've ever had before, but it's definitely still not a big time deal. So we're not going to spend any more time on it. Move on to your heel of the week. Somebody who I have a
Yeah.
feeling, if we did this gimmick years past, would have been this numerous times before.
Yeah, Josh McDaniels, first coach fired. If you had the your money on that, that had to be pretty good odds there. We'll talk about that with Williams here in a minute. Really, just bad decisions all throughout, and really not all his. But going all in for a wide receiver is key if you have the quarterback. They kind of thought they had the quarterback, then didn't have it. Going all in on Jimmy Garoppolo as your franchise quarterback after a litany of injuries he's had, not really smart. And then just game management and the teams that he's lost to is just ridiculous, including our Chicago Bears. So Josh McDaniels, first coach fired, heel of the week.
Williams, your thoughts? You're our coach guy here. I mean, did he absolutely deserve to go? I'm sure you're going to say that, right?
Yeah, and I mean, Mark Davis completely dropped the ball here. I mean, he had a 6-year deal. The coaches' contracts are guaranteed, and not only coaches' contracts, but they got rid of the GM and the OC too. The Raiders are still paying John Gruden and Mike Mayock. I mean, this is why I didn't think this was going to happen, because all we hear about is how Mark Davis doesn't have the cash of all the rest of these owners. And it's like, okay, well, so then he's not going to make a in season move there. But then all of a sudden, they're like all these closed door meetings, and they kept on having these meetings. And then there was a fan who went up to him in the press box a couple weeks ago and told him to fire McDaniels, and they got into an argument. It was just bad optics there, and I think it might have got to him. And a lot of these owners, man, they say the worst thing is the Twitter backlash. It's crazy that the owners, they can't handle the, we see how much of a cesspool Twitter is. I mean, I love it for some things, but then other things it's just terrible for. And these owners cannot take this backlash. And I think Mark Davis had finally had enough of it, and so he's going to be paying. I mean, all these multiple coaches forever now, huge sums of money here. The Raiders are in a bad spot going forward.
He needs to take a playbook out of Jim Irsay, the mad tweeters, right? And don't just fire your coach and like yell at people face to face. Just go on Twitter and say even crazier shit than what the trolls said, right? That's how Irsay handles stuff with the Colts, and that's worked out so well for him. Certainly haven't had any bad situations develop for the Colts because Irsay went on Twitter and said something dumb. That's never happened before.
Never.
See, that's what I mean,
Yeah.
right? Like this, this is my new stalking horse. All right. Whenever we want to talk about bad owners in the NFL, Jim Irsay's name needs to come up soon. All right. It needs to come up soon in this conversation. We're talking about a guy that just got the team given to him, just like Mark Davis, right? Irsay did nothing in his life to warrant being the owner of an NFL team, nor did Mark Davis. Daddy did a lot of stuff for him, got the team, and continue to make terrible decisions. It's absolutely ridiculous. The Bears make dumb decisions too. I didn't get a chance to weigh in on the Bears too much. All I want to say about this, Hall of Fame name out of Montez Sweat. Let's hope the guy actually does something for the Bears, because that's an absolute Hall of Fame name. I would love to go into Soldier Field and hear the PA announcer yelling, Montez Sweat with the sack. I mean, that just sounds absolutely fabulous to me. So I hope it all works out for your Bears. We got a Bears check-in there during the face and the heel of the week. We're being quite economical with all of our little gimmicks that we hit. Let's move on to the next one, where Chris continues to throw himself at the altar of me here, because he wrongly a couple of weeks ago said that Derek Carr had the record for QB sacks, when I in fact already said the correct answer, David Carr. But Chris was so high on his horse that he was like, no, Rod, you can't possibly have an answer. I'm Chris. I was told by Jimmy earlier that I cannot be wrong. And ever since that moment, Chris has continued to try to prove to us that he absolutely knows nothing about football. And to that end, Chris, the floor is yours.
If I was to ask you guys a couple weeks ago that a team goes out, gets -9, that's right, -9 passing yards in a game, and still have a chance to win that game, I think everybody would agree that that would be impossible. Yet we actually saw it this past weekend, which is something insane to me. I thought I knew maybe a little bit about football. I did play a little bit. I know there was leather helmets back then, but I still played a little bit. I just that Jets Giants game broke every single rule of football that I thought we had. -9 passing yards, the Giants still should have won. We had more punts in that game than we did points scored. It is the antithesis of a football game that we had last week, and I just don't understand or know how it happened.
Williams, I'm sure you have to have a lot of thoughts about a football game quite like that one. What do you got for us?
Not only is Chris right about that particular game, but check this out. For the year, the Giants and the Jets both have more yards punting this year than they do in total offensive yards.
Wow.
That's a good one right there. That's a good one. What was the name of the Giants quarterback that played at the end of that game?
Tommy DeVito might have as well been Danny DeVito. I mean,
Guy from Goodfellas.
There we go,
the guy
Jimmy. You
from
got it.
Goodfellas.
Yeah. That's Joe
Yeah.
Pesci's name in Goodfellas. I cannot believe it. I was like, you got to be kidding me. You need to go get a shoe shine box, just like Tommy does in that movie. He's got a much better future getting one of those than he does playing quarterback. My goodness.
I mean, he couldn't throw a forward pass when he was at Illinois, and now, what? They just ran Barkley into the line 36 times. I mean, they had 41 touches. I mean, they're just totally just running him to death.
Who was the worst quarterback? Let's sidebar right here. Who was the worst quarterback that took the field last week? Because there was certainly a whole lot of contenders. I mean, Secret Bagent, man, he fell back to the earth for your Bears. My God, did he look terrible for a couple of snaps during that game? Jimmy, who's your vote? Worst quarterback that took the field last week?
The guy for Minnesota. What's the guy's name?
Jaron Hall, isn't that his name? Something like that?
I believe so. Yeah, he did not do very well.
Chris, who you got? Worst quarterback. This is a draft you guys never thought you'd participate in.
Mine's Tony DeVito. I'm sorry, but
Not Tony. It's Tommy. Tommy used to work on the docks. You went on strike. All right, living on a prayer.
Listen, either way, it's him. All right, he is a quarterback, a professional quarterback in the NFL, and they did not allow him to pass a ball downfield. That should be a prerequisite to being a quarterback, is to be able to throw the ball, and he obviously can't.
Not his fault, though.
Williams, is it possible?
Himself.
Williams, here's my hot take. Is it possible that even though those answers that Chris and Jimmy, just gave were wonderful, is it possible that the worst person to play quarterback last week was still Desmond Ridder?
I guess it is possible, but man, I'd have to vote for for Tommy DeVito also, man. Just absolutely pathetic. I can't believe the Giants blew that game.
Yeah, it's gone bad for our guy Dayball in the next year, but I imagine he's still safe, and we'll see what he does the following year. But the mistake with Danny Dimes hurts because that's where quarterbacks come into play big time with salary. And that leads me into my thing that nobody's really talking about. Jimmy mentioned that Josh Dobbs got traded. And in the course of mentioning Josh Dobbs got traded, he pointed out how he was playing pretty competent quarterback for the Arizona Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals said, yeah, that's cool. Thank you for playing pretty competent quarterback for us, but we're going to ship you on to the Minnesota Vikings and go with Josh Thune. Okay. Why are they going to go with Josh Thune? I'm not even sure if I'm pronouncing his name right. It doesn't matter. They're going with Josh Thune because I don't think you have to actually pronounce it that way. I'm making him French. Again, it doesn't matter the pronunciation. They want Kyler Murray to come back and play football. Now, you hear all the nerds and the talking heads out there say that the Cardinals shouldn't let Kyler Murray play. They should trade him, get draft picks, tank, get high up to the top of the draft, get one of these great quarterbacks. The same thing that all of these football talking heads always say, right? When you look at football by the numbers of draft picks and this equation and that equation, the thing to do is fold and play for the future. If you look around in all the sports and all the smart people, when they're talking on their podcasts, all they're ever saying is fold and play for the future. Give me draft picks. Give me more draft picks. Let me trade this guy. Get assets. Let me sign this guy for the asset. Moving on all the round. But the problem is sometime the bill comes due. And that bill comes due to the owners, okay? And we talked before about how bad of an owner Irsay is. We talked a little bit earlier about how bad Chicago Bears ownership is. Guess what? Someone that you're not putting up for the blue ribbon medal stand of best owners in the NFL is the ownership group of the Arizona Cardinals. I guarantee you they have stepped in when they were told by their smart football minds, hey, we got to get rid of Kyler Murray. And the owner said, yeah, okay. How much money is that going to cost me? And they said, well, there's this much dead cap here, and you're going to have to pay this much out in bonus a couple of years out. So I don't know, 38, 40, $45 million. And the owner was like, no. I'm not paying that. Kyler Murray's playing quarterback for me. I think that's what could be going on here in Arizona. Williams, I know nothing about football, but I think I'm right every once in a while. How close do you think I am on this?
Yeah, I think the backup's name is Clayton Tune, but I could be wrong there. But I mean,
again, I know nothing. No one should listen to me on pronunciation. But the other part, yes. I think I'm onto something there. The pronunciation, no, but the other part.
What's wild is that in this contract that Kyler has, it's from the past regime. If he gets hurt this year, they owe him a guaranteed $85 million. So I would think that they would not want to play him, but it sounds like Jonathan Gannon and the head coach, they want to play him. So it's a wild story here. It sounds like he's going to come back not this week, but the following week, and we'll see how rusty he is, and we'll see how Arizona, plays out the rest of the season. Arizona, I know they have a terrible record, but watching their games, man, they play extremely tough. Man, they play extremely hard for this coach, especially in the first halves. Like they have been like in these games in the first half, and then they kind of just taper off because they don't have the talent. But man, yeah, the whole Kyler situation is very fascinating moving forward.
There's nobody that can analyze parts of football games better than our Josh Williams. I love it right there. Some analysis of how well the Arizona Cardinals played the first halves of football games, only here on Balls and Brew, folks. Chris, how would your hero Tom Landry handle this particular situation with Kyler Murray and the quarterbacks going on in Arizona?
Now, listen, if you're not willing to play or want to play, then Tom Landry doesn't want you on his team. All right, he ran a tight ship down there in Dallas. And I think that's an issue. I don't think Kyler Murray wants to play. I don't think Deshaun Watson wants to play. Well, I know Kyler Murray doesn't want to play because a new Call of Duty just came out, so he's at home enjoying himself. But
Right.
you're going to start seeing this, I think, a little bit more. You're going to see these guys get these big contracts with a lot of guaranteed money and then not want to play. And they're going to come up with ways to not play. Phantom shoulder injuries, phantom leg injuries, or whatever it may be. They're going to try to sit out and milk. Why do they have any kind of drive to get out there and work to get back out on the field? I mean, he knows the owner's not going to trade him for the reasons you just said, Rod. He knows he's not going anywhere. He knows he's getting all this money. Why rush? He's going to
Listen,
sit at home with his legs up playing Call of Duty.
I should take a screenshot right now of at least this screen so the listeners can see Chris in his Tom Landry getup right now. Tom Landry hat on, suit and all, going complete old man double takes, 2-barreled take coming at you. Young kids play too many video games, and we can't guarantee athletes contracts because they won't play. Just the double-barreled old man take there from Chris, Jimmy. You had to love that.
Chris is amazing in every way, shape, or form. He may not be right about everything, but he sure is awesome.
You know what else is awesome, Jimmy? My new favorite segment, just because I love saying this part right here. Let's go to Futures Market Watch.
Yeah, so we had a pretty big long shot that we gave out last week. This is going to be the exact opposite. The odds aren't very good here, but I think it's fun. And I'm going to go the Detroit Lions at 2-1 to, yes, if you can believe this, get the number 1 overall seed in the NFC. If you look at the schedule, yes. Look at what Philly has. They got to play Dallas twice. Coming off after the bye, they got at Kansas City versus Buffalo versus San Fran, at Dallas, at Seattle. You have Dallas. They still have to play Philly twice, and they still have to play Seattle, at Buffalo, at Miami. They got Detroit in there also. And you go to Seattle. Seattle and San Francisco still haven't played yet. So those two teams have to play each other. And Seattle still has a game against Philly. So all these teams are playing against each other. Now you look at Detroit. They get a bye this week, and then they have to go out and play at the Chargers, but they have a significant rest advantage there. They're going to have 15 days off to get ready for that Chargers game. The Chargers will only have 6 because they're playing on Monday night across country in New York this week. So they get at the Chargers. They still have 2 games left against the Bears. They still have 2 games left against the Kirk Cousins-less Minnesota Vikings. They still get Green Bay. They still get the Saints and the Broncos. This is a manageable schedule for Detroit. I know I've come on here and said I'm not thrilled with their secondary. I don't see any team on there that can test their secondary, to be honest with you.
Wait a minute. Are you talking about the same New Orleans Saints that just absolutely lit up the vaunted Indianapolis Colts defense for 500 yards? Is that the Saints team you're talking about? Because that sounds like a pretty good team to me.
We'll talk about that later. Yes, we'll talk about that later. But yeah, I don't think, other than that game at Dallas, the second to last week of the year, Detroit's schedule is very enticing. And Dan Campbell is going to have these guys pumped and ready to go every game. If there's any team not going to have a letdown, it's going to be Dan Campbell-led Detroit Lions. So I know the odds aren't that great, but 2-1, I think this is worth putting some money on here.
Listen, I'm all in on this. All right, I'm all in on this. The Colts are going to continue to play exciting football games because they just have. That's what their receipts show from this year. That it's going to be exciting football games. They may not come out on top, but they're going to play exciting games. But now I am riding for Detroit to be the best team in the NFC. Let's go! Shout out Amy Lang, cousin of the Mrs. Morgan, TV broadcaster up there in Detroit. Shout out Eminem. Shout out Bob Seger. All right. How about Stevie Wonder? Shout out Rodney Peete, Wayne Fonts. Let's go. Detroit, rise up. I'm all about this.
Yeah, shout out Motown.
Barry Gordy, let's go. Jimmy, who do you want to shout out from Detroit? Insane Clown Posse? I know you were a big juggalo back in the day.
I am ICP for life.
Nice, Jimmy. Did you know it was ICP or did you just literally make the initials?
Dude, I got lucky.
Yeah, I knew it. You've never heard the Ned game, have you, Jimmy?
Who's that?
That's not. It's a song. It's probably ICP's biggest song.
Do you even drink Faygo?
Jimmy? There we go. Yeah, Jimmy.
Do you even drink Faygo?
No, I don't like coffee.
Jimmy Jimriska. All right, let's stop with this nonsense and get to why everybody is here. Our handicapper, Josh Williams. We ask him to pick 3 games every week. He picks them out. He tells us minutes before we start the podcast, but he's been working on them all week. So here, what do you got for us on my beloved Indianapolis Colts with the best backup quarterback in the history of the world? But because he's a backup quarterback, it doesn't mean that he's actually that good, and it doesn't mean that he's going to win a lot of football games. But darn it, he's a great backup quarterback, and it's fun to watch him right now.
Yeah, unfortunately for you guys, I'm going against your Colts here. I'm going Carolina plus 2.5 across the board.
How dare you? In the Frank Reich Bowl, you're just going to stab me right in the heart.
This is the Frank Reich Bowl. That's the first thing I have written down here. I continue to think that this Panthers offense is going to get better and better. Like Thomas Brown, the offensive coordinator, he passed on first downs at a 15% higher clip than when Reich was calling the plays the first 6 or 7 weeks. And man, I know this, it may seem like I'm making all this Thomas Brown stuff up. They gave the game ball to him last week. Like, they love this guy. They love this
Now,
guy.
wait a minute. No one accused you of saying that this guy doesn't exist and that you just, I mean, I know Thomas Brown sounds like a made up name, but we all believed you.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. I think they can take a big sigh of relief now after getting that first win of the year. It feels like they're going to be much looser as the season progresses. But guys, the main handicap here is you just can't be laying any points right now with that Gus Bradley scheme and that Gus Bradley secondary of the Colts. They are getting absolutely torched right now. The Saints, whose offense has been on the back of a milk carton this year, just put up over 500 yards on the Colts. And who better to know all the ins and outs of a Gus Bradley defense than a guy who went up against it the last few years in practice with Frank Reich? I think the Panthers team has a little bit of confidence now, has a little bit of momentum, and maybe most importantly, the coaching staff has the owner backed off of them a little bit. Tepper is a very hands-on type of owner, and there was a lot of pressure on Carolina to perform well last week and get the W. I think there's still room for this offense to play better and put up some points. What better spot here than at home versus the sieve of a Colts D right now? Give me the Panthers plus 2.5 on Sunday afternoon. I think Adam Thielen has a big day also.
How dare you? Williams, I've not been mad at you really at any point yet this year, other than when you pick halves of football games. Do I get a little bit annoyed? But this is absolute garbage. You're coming on here picking against my Colts, saying all these nice things about Frank Reich. I mean, like, I just feel personally attacked, and I don't get it. I attack Chris on this podcast, and I attack Jimmy quite often, but I don't often attack you, and you just come on here and stab me in the heart with this Frank Reich propaganda, Williams. What's going on?
Remember when I gave out the stat last week that said Frank Reich was undefeated off the bye, and everybody just lost their mind. He's still undefeated off the bye. I can't believe it.
Man, all right, fine. Again, whatever. Panthers over Indy. Chris, do you feel as offended as I do?
Yeah. It's pretty heartbreaking right now that he's going to back a coach like Frank Reich that just kind of drove us back into the ground.
Jimmy, come on. The Panthers are not going to beat the Colts, all right? You've been there in person at the Luke, right? Like I said, this is an exciting team to watch, but come on, they can beat the Panthers, no?
They can beat the Panthers as long as the Panthers don't run the ball. If they run the ball at all, the Colts are going to lose the game. I'm not worried about the passing as much. I know the secondary kind of stinks, but it's the running, and I don't understand why not every team just runs the ball right down their throat. No, Colts are going to win this one. Williams, you're out.
Yep. See, Williams, this is what you get. You got angry me, and I see now that you're going after my guy, Pete Carroll. Don't be saying any bad things about my guy. The old guy still got it, Pete Carroll here up in Seattle versus Baltimore, but this is going to be a good game. This is probably the game of the week.
Hey, technically, I can still win that bet if the Colts win that game by 1 or 2. So we're taking Carolina plus 2.5. So,
But technically, I'm still going to be personally offended no matter which way it goes.
okay. Let's go. Yeah, you guessed it. I'm going Baltimore minus 5.5 on FanDuel. Make sure you get this on FanDuel because it's up to 6 everywhere else. This is another step up defensively for the Seahawks. And I know this is going to sound similar to what I described last week. But I think the main difference here is that Seattle was playing at home last week. They got up early. Now they have to travel cross country, play that 1 o'clock game in Baltimore. And even after playing Cleveland, you look at that schedule. Seattle has still played a bottom 10 schedule of opposing defenses. The Ravens D is number 1 and number 2 in EPA allowed in defensive efficiency. So this D is starting to trend up as it gets healthier. The Ravens are above league average in pass rush win rate. Geno had 2 more picks again last week. And pre Seattle bye, the O-line coach had done a good job keeping Geno clean. But post Seattle bye versus Zona, Cincy, and Cleveland, he's been pressured at a 44% rate. When he's pressured, he has a 6% turnover worthy throw rate. And I mean, there's been some real sharp money coming in on the Ravens this week. Like I said, Seattle has played the second easiest schedule so far. Baltimore is a top 5 offense. Seattle lives in zone. Lamar is a top 5 quarterback in EPA per dropback versus zone. And Njoku and Laporta, the tight ends, had nice games versus Seattle when they played them. Now they have to face Mark Andrews. And Lamar hasn't been great versus blitzes, but Seattle is 27th in blitz rate. So I think all these things add up to Baltimore here. And why did Seattle get the backdoor push last week at home? They jumped out to a 17-0 lead. The Ravens have outscored their opponents in the first quarter this year 62-13. So I don't think they'll be able to jump out to an early lead. In Seattle, these are the quarterbacks they've faced since week 3. Andy Dalton, Danny Dimes behind a pathetic O-line, a banged-up Joe Burrow, uh, the pre-aforementioned Josh Dobbs, and P.J. Walker, who just turned into dust last week after 3 turnovers. Don't forget also, Lamar is 18-1 versus the NFC in his career. He's undefeated at home. These NFC teams do not understand how mobile Lamar is. The first time you see him, it's very tough to prepare for him. 1:00 game, Seattle, cross country. All things right here are pointing towards Baltimore. I'll lay the 5.5.
PJ Walker spontaneously combusting, the first evidence of spontaneous combustion since Spinal Tap's drummer, Chris. So this was pretty exciting news that he literally just turned to dust after he threw that third pick.
Yeah, it was very surprising. It made national headlines, I think, all over the world.
Now, Jimmy, I got to ask this. There was a lot of talk floating around on the ESPNs, on your NFL networks, on your pods this week about, hey, Seattle, sneaky. Maybe Seattle's going to win the NFC West. Is this why Williams is now breaking bad against the Seahawks because he's mad about his Niners? Is he just a little butthurt here, and so he's going to break bad against the Seahawks?
Well, now remember, Seattle had a really good game last week. Going to come down a little bit this week. Baltimore is hungry. So I think that, yeah, he's butthurt, 100%. It's his Niners. Mr. Purdy isn't your awesome MVP candidate anymore. And Shanahan, maybe Sam Darnold's looking good. How about that? How about Sam Darnold come in now? Sorry, brother. It's over. It's over.
Yeah, I see Williams has something that he wants to say here, but unfortunately, we have to move on to the next game, Buffalo at Cincinnati.
It's a shame.
So, yeah, it's just a shame that Williams is not going to get a chance to come on here and defend himself, man. It's just really a shame. But I bet you, even though if I try to get him, he's not going to circle back, right, Jimmy? There's no chance that he circles back on us. Throw it to him here about Buffalo, Cincinnati, is there?
Nope.
I'm going to circle back here, and I'm going to say, and I could be bringing something up that I could be wrong about. So listen to this circle back. Before we did the season, before the season started, we did the NFC West previews. I picked Seattle to win the division. I still like the Seattle team. I just don't think this is a good spot for them.
All right. So you tell us this all the time. You're like, no, I'm not really against the team. It's just the spot, right? It's all about the number that week. I understand it. The handicapper brain.
Yeah, if you don't know the NFL is a week to week league, man, I mean, it's so tough. These games are so tough, and you have to find situational spots, motivational spots. This is why we liked Denver last week in the first half. Contrarian. I mean, you guys gave me a little gruff about that, but when you think about contrarian, who am I siding with? I'm siding with the books, and I almost always want to side with the books. So yeah, this week though, I mean, this last game here, I'm more with the public. I don't get this line at all. We're going to go Sunday Night Football, Cincy. We're going to go Cincy minus 1.5 on FanDuel versus Buffalo.
Here's the deal. I think Buffalo's not good. Here's the deal. I think Buffalo's not good. I'm just going to say that.
I don't get this, man. Okay, since 2021, when the Bengals come off their bye every year, so all the games after their bye in 2021, 2022, and now 2023, their records in those games, they're 18-5 straight up. This is a second half of the season team with Burrow here. And the Bills have been favored, get this, in 26 straight games. That's the longest current streak in the NFL. I would have guessed the Chiefs there. That comes to an end this week since he's going to go off the favorite. Buffalo's opponents average 28th in offensive efficiency rate. This will be a huge step up for them facing Burrow and company. And the Bills D, they've lost a top defender at each line of defense here. They've lost Daquan Jones on the defensive line. They've lost Matt Milano at linebacker. They've lost Tre'Davious White at corner. The Bills D in their last 4 games have allowed 72% of targets to be caught. Those QBs, Baker Mayfield, Mac Jones, Tyrod Taylor, Trevor Lawrence. Burrow's release time, 3rd fastest in the league also. I don't think the Bills are going to get to him. And we couldn't go a full pod here without throwing out some ref stats. Alex Kemp, whose crew is calling this game, in 2020 and 2022, They led the NFL in illegal contact penalties. This year, guess who leads the league in illegal contact penalties? It's the Buffalo Bills. Kemp is also calling just 40% of his overall penalties on the home team this season. The Bengals are the least penalized team in the league so far in 2023. I think this all adds up. I mean, what am I missing here, guys? We get Burrow at home getting less than 3. I mean, it's 1.5. I mean, I'm taking Cincy all day. I think this Buffalo team's overrated.
Well, we'll go to the pod's number one Joe Burrow fan here in just 1 second. But I'd say this: you could give me Cincinnati -3.5, and I'd still take them in this game. I just don't think Buffalo's that good. I really don't. I think Buffalo's the case of a team being propped up by a good quarterback. I don't think they have a lot of great weapons on offense anymore. And I think that defense, as you just alluded to, they just keep taking losses and it trumps them. But Chris, your boy Joey Burrow looked awful lot like Joey Cool last week. I'm sure you have to be excited.
Yeah, no, I didn't know you could actually heal injuries by playing the game, but apparently that's what Joe Burrow's been able to do because at the beginning of the year that leg looked bad. He was favoring it. And then last week shows up and that dude isn't sliding. He is running shoulder first and driving those legs. That dude has healed himself while playing, and that's pretty phenomenal. And he looked like the real Joey Burrow last week.
Jimmy, I said something earlier about Seattle Baltimore being game of the week. That actually is probably a little wrong there. Buffalo Cincy could compete, or even Miami Kansas City, the early 9:30 a.m. game. What's your vote?
I think Miami, Kansas City, because it's going to tell us a lot about both teams, really how they've been playing. Miami should take care of Cincinnati here if they are a real contender, and then or Kansas City, sorry, and then on the other side, Kansas City's really they're coming off a pretty bad loss there, so they need to do something to get back in the good graces. So I think that's going to be your game of the week. I don't think Cincinnati and Buffalo is going to be that close. And honestly, I don't think Seattle Baltimore is going to be that close either.
No love for the Seahawks on this podcast. Do you hear that, Pete Carroll? I'm still your number one boy. All right, Pete. I'm still your guy here in South Bend, Mishawaka. All right, living it up for you. We will be back talking football with you next week. We are going to step away here with Mr. Williams and then come back, and Jimmy is going to run us on the fast break. Mr. Williams, any parting football thoughts for the folks before we switch to basketball?
No, we've got we've got college basketball starting on Tuesday, November 7th. Let's go. Yes, March Madness right around the corner. All right.
Well, I'll tell you what. You get a couple college basketball numbers together for us next week, and maybe we'll give you a couple minutes there. All right. That's my gift to you, Mr. Williams.
Hey, Rod, it's already off to a good start. We've already seen Purdue lose this year.
There we go. Love it. On the other side, Mr. Jamriska will take over the hosting duties, and I will become a takester. The NBA Fast Break is next.
Welcome to the Fast Break, the fastest 15 minutes in the NBA. I'm Jimmy, Rod, and Chris are here from Balls and Brew. Williams, he doesn't like the round ball. He likes the oblong ball, so get him out of here. We have had a very interesting first week in the NBA. Let's start right at the top with a biggest story on NFL trade deadline day. James Harden got his way yet again, and he is a Clipper, and we got to see a couple of amazing things. First of all, the awkward entrance of him and Russell Westbrook talking to each other, and then also, and I quote, terrific media day for him today. I am not a system player. I am a system. Train wreck coming, gentlemen. I love it, Rod.
Hey, I guess congratulations to James Harden for absolutely 100% bona fide certified stamping his greatest quitter of all time, but also being a complete Svengali because this guy gets exactly what he wants every single time. It is absolutely amazing to me. The Clippers were bidding against themselves and gave away a decent young rotation player in KJ Martin, 2 draft picks. All the other guys are inconsequential. They don't care about Batum or Morris or Covington. So, and frankly, I don't think the Sixers care much for them either. I look at this more, to be honest with you, Jimmy, I'm totally with you. It's going to be a train wreck. Chris, I look at it more on the Philadelphia end. If you're Joel Embiid, how happy are you about this? That basically all that happened was you lost an all-star caliber player and you kicked the can down the road.
Yeah, I mean, they got better by subtraction, right? I mean, they've been doing this the last 2 years. They're getting rid of the problems. and getting a better by it. Now they're probably in line to get the number 3 seed in the East, more than likely, maybe 4, depending, but they're definitely top tier now in the East, right behind Boston and Milwaukee. And I really want to know what James Harden is putting out in the universe to be able to get whatever he asks for whenever he asks for it.
Yeah,
No shame. I'd say it's no shame, right? Honestly, that would be my first thing. He's got absolute no shame. He doesn't care what anybody on Twitter says about him. He doesn't care what anybody thinks his legacy is as a basketball player. And the threat of him basically being willing to go out onto the court. And Jimmy, I'm sorry here. I know we try this to be a family show, but literally be willing to take a shit at mid-court if the 76ers put him into a game. I think that fears why Philadelphia moved on, no?
I think that's exactly why they moved on, because he probably literally would have done that. Now, that being said, we're going to jump right into some of our takeaways from the first week. And my takeaway is I was right. The Clippers are going to be a top 3 seed in the West. Let's go. That being said, I think Harden, I think Kawhi, I think Paul George. I'm all in. I love it. Let's go, guys.
Wow, I don't know why you do this to yourself with the regular season games. Why you're doing this to yourself, Jimmy. But hey, maybe it'll work out, right? The idea that basically none of these guys have a guaranteed future, maybe that will work in your favor here, Jim.
I hope so. Chris King, what's one of your takeaways from the first week?
There are definitely some surprises that happened in this first week. We saw some teams that we thought maybe have a little bit of push to start the season off right, not get off to a slower start. And we've seen some teams that a few of us thought were going to have bad regular seasons come out hot. So, I mean, there's been some subversion in this first week of expectations.
What would you say would be your most subversive expectation not met the first week? You like how I did that, Rod?
I think this is more pointed at Rod because the team that he
Whoa.
hates the most came out to a 4-0 start and they look good right now. I'm talking about the Dallas Mavericks.
Was there a particular
Mavericks
player that wasn't on the court for a couple of those games?
He was also on the court for a couple of the games and they've won them all.
It's amazing how good a team can look when they don't have him out on the court, just completely dragging down the energy and being the terrible player that he is. Boy, amazing. Yeah, fine. Go ahead. The Mavericks haven't played anybody, Chris. We'll see how it works out by the end of the year. I guarantee all of my predictions are still going to be right. This team's a train wreck.
Now, someone who hasn't been on the court, and he didn't play tonight, but he played the rest of the games, Zion Williamson is back. And I'm here to say Zion Williamson is back, but it's not the Zion that we were used to. And by that I mean that, the 10 games he played in his career so far. I think Zion Williamson is going to find a new role as a just 20-point scorer. He's not going to play as much as they want him to. He's not going to be point Zion anymore. But I think this is the way to get him to play more games, Rod.
So he's Boris Diaw. You've just made Zion Williamson Boris Diaw. That's what we've essentially done here.
If it keeps him on the court, yes, I think that's what they need to do.
Listen, I agree with you. There's enough talent on New Orleans that perhaps Zion doesn't have to be a supernova for that team to be good, right? Perhaps him and Brandon Ingram and CJ McCollum and some of the young guys popping a little bit is enough for New Orleans. But I continue to say we get a little ahead of ourselves with this stuff in the NBA the first couple of weeks, all right? How good were the Jazz last year, right? Break up the Jazz. Number 1, number 2 seed, right? Out to like an 11-2 record, and then they didn't even make the playoffs, right? So, I mean, we just got to calm down a little bit with this stuff at the beginning of the season. It's fun to overreact and have discussions, but let's relax.
Hey, except for my Clippers take those correct. Rod, what's one of the takeaways you've had from the first week?
Yeah, as I say, relax. We can't make any grand proclamations about the beginning of the year. The Boston Celtics are the greatest team of the past decade. All right, lock it up. They're going all the way to the crown. Faux. All right, we're sweeping everybody. Bucks who? Heat who? 76ers, whatever. The West is going to cannibalize itself, and the 76ers won't even sniff anything. The Celtics are going to be champions. This 5 to 6 man unit, the way they all kind of rotate and filter in is absolutely amazing. And the defense, Jimmy, the defense that everybody was worried so much about seems to be still right there. And this team is clicking on offense like we haven't seen before.
This is one of those times. Celtics are fine with me. I like the Celtics. I don't hate the Celtics. I just really want to see them stay healthy to see what can happen over an 82 game season and then in the playoffs. I love it so far. I'm really happy for the Celtics. Chris King, big Celtics guy here.
Listen, I'm a Larry Bird fan, so there's always a part of me that's going to be a Celtics fan no matter what because Larry Legend played for that team. Um, I was also a Paul Pierce guy too. And you're not
Speaking about
wrong,
shitting,
right?
yeah. All right. Anyway,
But I do. I want to see them stay healthy. I want to see them get through a whole season relatively healthy, get into the playoffs as full strength to see what they really can do. Because I don't think we really got that the last couple of years.
That Paul Pierce
correct.
joke, Jimmy. I mean, that could be one of your best jokes all year, and we're only in like week 2, buddy. You just set the bar real high with that one.
Hey, this year we are going to be positive every. Yep, there you go. Well, we tried. We made it a few minutes. It's the Raw Damnation of the week.
We have to do something about this situation. The momentum is dying. I don't understand no more distractions, but I do believe we should all follow one path in life. Hubris and ego and pride. Sorry, all that was a complete lie. Yeah, Rod Damnation, we're back for another season. I try to watch NBA basketball and give these guys a break and understand that today's players are a different generation than me, okay? We're talking a 20-year age gap, 20-year plus in a lot of cases with these guys, okay? They're from a different generation. They do different things than I in their spare time now, all of the above. But I still believe there's a right way and a wrong way to play basketball. And Jordan Poole in Chocolate City, the DMV, Washington, D.C., however you want to refer to it, my friend, you have zero idea about how to play actual, real winning basketball. You are a joke. You are about Instagram. You are about posing. You are about jacking shots. You are about talking trash to the other team when you play for the Wizards, a team that is not even going to come close to sniffing the playoffs, and you're talking trash in the first week of the season. Oh, and by the way, not to mention the trash you're trying to talk to the opposite team's bench on a shot that's in the air, clanked off the back iron. Calm down, Jordan Poole, all right? It's okay to pass every once in a while. You don't have to be allergic to passing. If you swing the ball to one side of the floor, it might come back your way a couple of seconds later for an open shot. You don't have to pound the air out of the basketball, take 35 shots a game, and pose and make the cover of Slam Magazine. It's okay to actually play basketball. Jordan Poole, you're a fool.
Now, didn't Jordan Poole pass it to a teammate off the backboard and have the teammate dunk it? Wasn't that him or not?
Again,
it was a 30-point. They were
down
down 30 they were down 30 at the time. But that's
what
okay.
would Robert Montgomery Knight say about something like that, Jimmy?
Poole wouldn't have made it out of the locker room alive. No, not at all. Right, Chris King?
Bobby would have, just like Rod said at the beginning of the Balls and Brew pod, that Knight prepared guys to win. Jordan Poole has not prepared to win in basketball or life, apparently. And if he would have played ball for Knight in college, he would have learned that real quick.
Well, speaking of learning, we haven't learned to be any better. We have those trumpets. That means we've got the King's Hardwood Hierarchy.
For the win.
And this is definitely an overreaction. Just like last year, I had teams in my hardwood hierarchy that did not end up making the playoffs for my first couple lists, and we'll probably see that this time as well. I don't think so, though. I'm going to start at the top. The king, of course, is the Boston Celtics. All right, you come out and you put up 155 against a pretty good Indiana team. That's a big win. They're the king. All right, the queen may be controversial, but right now they are the only other undefeated team in the NBA, and that's the Dallas Mavericks. And of course, I have to put Denver in the Prince spot just because returning champions, tied for the second best record in the league right now. The Jester is actually a team from last year's finals, and that's the Miami Heat. All right. You can't come out to
Whoa.
a 1-4
Culture.
start.
Ouch, culture.
And they seem to be missing it right now. I know it's early and it's an overreaction, but the Miami Heat, this week's Jester.
Hey, Rod, so shouldn't the Heat be the king? Because this is kind of the Heat's gimmick. They start off bad, they don't have a good regular season, and then they go to the finals.
Yeah, I was going to say Miami decided to get bulletin board really early, right? I guess they decided here's our strategy for this year, guys. We're going to come out terrible in the first couple weeks of the year. We're going to get everybody talking even more mess about us, and then we're going to prove them all wrong. Or they said, you know what? We're going to take the complete first half of the season off, win everything in the second half, and start peaking at the right time again. Who knows? I'm certainly not counting the Heat out. I have a question about the hierarchy, Jimmy. Am I allowed to try to get some sort of clarification here?
Of course.
Okay, Chris, you put the Nuggets and the Mavericks on the court right now playing one another. Who wins?
I think it's a toss-up if it's played in Dallas. If it's played in Denver, I think Denver wins.
All right.
Next question. Hey, Rod, is Jokic playing in this game?
I just hate the Mavericks. I guess I was just trying to make Chris say if he was going to say that Denver beat Dallas, then how can they be ahead of him? But he sniffed me out, and he basically gave himself an out by saying it'd be a 50-50 split based on who was home.
Dallas has a better offensive net rating right now than Denver does. They're scoring 122 points per game. Denver's at 110. I know Denver's defense is a lot better than Dallas's, but I think if Dallas puts out the lineup with Donich, put Green out there, put Lively the second out there, I think that lineup that they have can really do it. And then you got Tim Hardaway Jr., who's playing lights out right now coming off the bench for Dallas. I think Dallas, it's a toss-up if it's played in Dallas.
When did you get on Mark Cuban's payroll? And I never thought you'd be giving me pro Tim Hardaway Jr. takes. We're off to a rousing start on the fast break, Jimmy. I'm telling you.
That's how we do. Like I said, we never learn. Chris always puts teams in his first hardwood hierarchy that don't make the playoffs. I continuously love and bash Los Angeles teams. And Rod is just angry at Kyrie Irving. And
Most of
that
the
will
time.
do it for this week's Balls and Brew. We appreciate everyone who listens. Thank you very much on the Morgan You Knows Podcasting Network.
Get yourself.
Goodbye, Internet.
What are you doing? What are you doing? I say something, then you say something. This is how it works. Get yourselves NBA League Pass out there, ladies and gentlemen. All right. I heard the NFL half season pass is $119. You can get the full NBA League Pass right now for just $99. Okay. And I'm telling you something, flipping around, finding the games that are actually in the fourth quarter close, nothing better. Get yourself League Pass. It's fabulous.
Goodbye, Internet.